Okay. All right, so it's 1:03 p.m., April 18th, 2022, and this is a regular meeting of the Lake County Board of County Commissioners. If you will all please silence your cell phones and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So I think we need to only make one adjustment on the agenda today. So we're going to move CJK milling down to number 12 and then just bump everything up. If that is okay.
Yeah, I also, I don't think we have item 8 ready yet. I can talk a little bit about it when we get there and some of the other agreements, but there's nothing for that, right, Tim? Okay.
Okay. So only discussion.
Yeah.
I could also ask if number 12, the dynamic project management memo, I need to hop off. Make sure we get to number 12 before 3 o'clock.
Yeah. Exactly wrong. Okay. All right. So I will entertain a motion for approval of the amended agenda.
So,
Second?
Any further discussion?
one for me?
No, thank you.
Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
I can post that in the chat if you'd like.
Sure. All right, great, thank you, sir. Community informational items, Commissioner Fiedler.
None for me. I think we have a full agenda. So,
Commissioner Mudge.
No, I'll pass as well today.
Sure. I only have one bit of community informational items. Just wanted to share in a little bit of success. Bright Start has been able to increase their staffing capacity and open a second room for childcare. So we have increased our enrollment from 8 children to 21 children. Thanks.
That's good.
So we're looking forward to increasing that capacity and are very thankful for our staff and board members that have worked so hard to make that a possibility. Any commissioner clarifications?
I have none.
Okay. All right, public comments on items not on the agenda. The disclaimer here on our agenda, citizens wishing to speak to the commissioners on issues not on the agenda are requested to send a message in the chat section or raise your hand in the participant section of the Zoom. Staff will call on the public in order. Please state your name and address for the record. Comment is limited to 3 minutes. Action, if required, will be assigned to county staff. Is there anyone with us from the public that would like to speak on items not listed on the agenda? Yes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mayor.
Actually, childcare just reminded me, I was in a meeting on Friday with Mike Kinder, the CEO of Freeport McMurray, and they are equally distressed by childcare issues in terms of their ability to hire at Climate. So we did talk about that in some length. I told them about Bright Start. They said maybe they should consider some sort of a cooperative effort with Bright Start to try and resolve that. So I mean, that's as much as I have. He was very interested in what's going on with it. The other thing I was going to tell you, you guys may already know this, but if you don't, the city has put a contract on a house in Leadville, 5-bedroom, 5.5 baths. We were, just like everybody, we could really be in trouble, in terms of employees and a place to bring people into the city And to hire them, we've been a man down in the street department. Last applicant we got couldn't move here because he couldn't find housing. And the story goes on. You guys are well aware of it. So it was a pretty bold move for us, and it scared me half to death. But now I hope we can deal with some of the housing issues that we have. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mayor.
Chief Daly?
Good afternoon. So every year, probably for the past 5 years, we've been really building up our wildland fire program, and also our training every year has grown with it. There's been years in the past where we've put a lot of fire on the ground in different locations in Lake County, and I'm just here to ask permission, because it's on Lake County property, in order to be able to put some live fire on the ground out near where the training facility is. So it's a plot of land that's just northwest of the gravel pit out there. And if you look it up on the assessor's website, it is the passage.
Location of this one here.
Yeah.
So that would be where we'd want to do some live fire training this weekend, 24th.
An IAP this Wednesday that's completed, and I don't see any issues with it of any kind of major concerns of putting fire on the ground and that in the undergrowth. So it's just a fine fuel, so it won't get the ladder and burn up and that kind of stuff. So I'd be highly surprised if we would get fire going this weekend.
Why's that? Why's that?
Because of the
Winds?
content and everything. Yeah, I mean, RH is high, the fuel content, and the moisture in the fuel is really high still.
Melting out.
So,
I realize that I mean, the location is for the proximity is convenient with the proximity to the training center, but there was a time a year or two ago that the golf course asked that you might set a fire on the driving range. So if you want to do that. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll thank you for that information. I'll give it to wildland coordinators and we'll go out there and we'll meet with them and see if we can put them out some of them.
Yeah. I think you might have had a conversation, but just keep it going and then figure out if that can work out.
Yeah, that'd be great. We do have other agencies coming. We have the U.S. Forest Service coming with 2 Type 6s, actually a Type 6 each day. And then we have people from Gypsum and Green Eagle coming over also. For our team. We wanted to get the helicopters involved this year, but they're just busy wrapping up for the season. So we're hoping to get with them next year and have them come in for next year's wildland training that we do.
How much of that area would you hope to burn if the conditions are right and you could get a fire started?
If we did it, we would do the whole area.
That whole thing?
And what that does also, right, it actually mitigates the area. Yeah. We'll go in there with chainsaws, practice on ST12 training and limb up and do all that prior to the burning, of course. We want to get rid of all those lighter fuels and then we'll try to burn it down.
Okay.
So, and then get rid of any snags, any dead trees and fall down, that kind of stuff.
Okay. I think that's a good.
Do you need any formal agreement or action from us, or just a notification?
No, that's why I want to come to the meeting. So it's just, conversation.
Okay.
For record is go ahead, go ahead. And do that.
Okay.
Now, that's a good question. Later, as we start to grow, we want to do more county property and maybe city property. Maybe we should get some kind of formalized process put in place.
Yeah, no idea if you need insurance carriers or.
Probably not for this property, but there's no homes that would be threatened in this case. But if we start getting into areas where it could be a concern.
I mean, the golf course is thinking, I mean, that's slowed down and sort of at the base of identified couple spot. Yes.
Yeah.
Good point.
Could be dangerous. Right. It'd be great. Yeah, it'd be great, like a little more lead time and, or maybe come back with like what the IAP is. Yeah. And how that panned out over the weekend. That'd be, or those, yeah, those dates. That'd be interesting.
I'll share the IQ with you as well. After this completed all that stuff.
And maybe we could do like one master one with like an amendment of like, you know, the areas we're thinking of, and we could just like add to it on a rolling basis and go through the whole review.
Yeah.
Great. So, like define some locations that might have on, could not consider competing with it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That'd
you
be
can sort of almost like pre-approve those ones you already know about and then add those ones. You just make it work.
Mhm. And then when you get into city and the institutional controls, we're trying to figure out, you know, what level of disruption, surface disruption might have to trigger some dust control or something, but I think that's more for thinning and not necessarily for any like fuel mitigation, like bigger work. I don't think that would apply for your project this
Right.
weekend, but any other big projects like throughout the city and other operational units or whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah,
if
we
it
start
gets,
doing larger swaths of land. Yeah, we're gonna need a bigger.
just making sure all the boxes are checked.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We all want to do that.
Yeah, no, that sounds great.
Okay,
Okay. Great.
Well, thank
Any
you.
questions or anything about it? Or you're more welcome to come out. It'll be this weekend, 9 to 5, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay. I think
We'll
just,
probably run on Sunday.
okay,
Even
just,
though weather is supposed to be, we might actually run on Saturday because weather's 60% chance of precipitation on Sunday.
okay, I think just make sure that you advertise it appropriately, since we have short resources in dispatch and sheriff's office and that kind of thing, make sure it's publicly known that you're burning out those. Get a bunch of 911 calls. Yeah,
Chief, I can call, there's like 6 or 7 people in this area that I've called about slash burning going on out there. So I'm happy to call them as well to give them a heads up for the neighborhoods. You might ask Donna Schneider to spread that word in her neighborhood out there as well.
Yeah.
And then also if you have like, put up a little 1-pager and laminate it and stick it up for people to see what happened out there. If you get things burning, a little educational opportunity, be cool. Thanks, Chief.
right, thank you. Right, is there anybody else with any public comments on the agenda? Anybody on the Zoom? No? Okay. So that, with that, we'll move into new business. Number 1, Mayor Labbe reading the City of Leadville's proclamation declaring April as Leadville History Month. So Mayor, if you'd like to come join us in the front.
I'll tell you that the same proclamation has been read for many years, so we upgraded a little this year to make it a little more relevant.
Thank you.
To our history, both our far past history, but also some relevant parts of our more recent history, the last 50 years. So I'll read this as it was from the city council. Whereas the city of Leadville treasures our history, our historical assets, as well as our people and legends and stories we hear and read about them. And whereas from Joseph P. Riggs to Henry Smith, from Abe Lee to Texas Jack, from Horace Tabor and Father Dyer to Oscar Wilde and Evelyn Furman, from Billy Irwin and the Leadville Blues to Bud Ryan, from George Seitz to the Delaware Block and the Tabor Opera House, from Doc Holliday to Marshall Dugan, from Jesse McDonald to Carl Miller, from California Gulch to the Black Cloud and Climax Mine, from Carl and Donna Schaefer and the Old Church, from ski joring and boom days, from the Herald Democrat, from Ken Clover and Mary Lee Maupin and the Leadville Trail 100, from Kathleen Fitzsimmons and Bill Harrington and the Irish descendants of Leadville's mining glory days, and from Neil Reynolds and the House with the Eye. Leadville has produced legends, stories, and buildings that remain compelling today. And whereas we have preserved historical structures and we have lost them, and whereas our structures, our stories, and our legends must be preserved in order to have a future as bright as our past, and whereas the city of Leadville wishes to honor our past, now therefore I, Greg Labbe, Mayor of Leadville, do hereby proclaim that April 2022 shall be celebrated as Leadville Historic Month.
Thank you, Mayor.
And we also put the banners up for April, so.
Excellent.
Cool.
Excellent.
This is, I don't know how many people know this, you guys probably do know it, but this is not a random proclamation in that the state legislature actually declared April as Leadville Historic Month. Quite some years ago, a group from Leadville went and lobbied the legislators and they made that proclamation at the state level. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, moving on. Number 2, Mount Massive Golf Course 2022 water lease.
Okay.
I will hand this over to you. Sarah. I
Sure.
think you've worked the closest with the golf course on their lease.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So this is, we have had a 5-year lease with the Mount Massive Golf Course prior to Lake County implementing and administering our augmentation plan. The end of that lease was December 2021 or very beginning of January 2022. But it has come to its end. And so through this year, because we're on the cusp of engaging for administration of the augmentation plan, I worked with the golf course and our water legal to create this new lease that will be effective for the year of 2022. The idea there is a reduced acre foot water allotment to the golf course of 10 acre feet from 23 acre feet. That is very deliberate so that we have 10 acre feet to include in our portfolio of the augmentation plan when we get that running. Otherwise, we don't have any water to allocate elsewhere. So the reduction for the trans-basin allotment, or the 40 acre feet from Aurora that you may recognize, is going to be reduced from 23 acre feet to 13 for the golf course, and then they will use the Dairy 3 water that is a direct flow, and we don't have any place to store that right now, so we are not otherwise using that Dairy 3 water, and that's a good place for them to, they'll track that and use that first as they can through the year as the runoff comes, and then use the trans-basin allotment as they need to. The other change is the price has increased, and we gave them a cost of $800 per acre foot for the guaranteed water in the trans-basin, and $233 per acre foot with the Dairy 3. And so their overall price has increased from about $4,600 to $12,730 for the water use. Okay. And I would just add that the intention, I think the ideal scenario may be for the golf course to become a Lake County augmentation plan customer. And we'll see how that folds out. Because certainly we can't actually allocate all of our available water to one place. But there are other ways to skin the cat, and we could potentially look into long-term leasing or whatnot, and yeah, find other sources. And as we increase our storage ability, we can kind of shuffle allocations and sources around. Okay. Happy to answer any questions.
Sure. Commissioner Fiedler, do you have any questions?
I don't know. Thanks for the explanation and yeah, getting up to this point. That's really great. resource.
Yeah, I agree. I just, for clarification, the cost of the acre foot, the acre per acre foot that they're going to use from us, that's then payable to the county, right?
Yes.
I just wanted to make that clarification.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. No, that's not gone through our augmentation plan for any yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I don't have any further questions then.
Yeah, none for me.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the augmentation water supply agreement between Lake County and Mount Massive Golf Course for the year of 2022.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion?
Okay.
No thanks.
All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you very much.
So moving on to number 3, public health contract with Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. And we do have Colleen Nielsen here, Director of the Public Health Agency. Colleen, if you would like to unmute and walk us through this, it's just a master agreement with CDPHE for funding that we have to re-sign every year. So Colleen, if you have anything that you'd like to add.
Yeah, actually, there should be another one. There's another contract from the workforce agreement, and I can put it up on the screen. I had sent it to Tim last week with the intention of being on. And so the first one you were talking about is a master contract. So it is something that we have to sign basically every couple of years. And so with that being said, it basically is what Kayla was explaining. It is our master contract that allows us then to go for other grants within CDPHE. Basically, the master contract says, yes, we understand grants that come from CDPHE have a procurement policy, have, hiring standards, have kind of all of the other pieces that have to happen in order for us to go for the other grants. And so we do have like a fiscal management rating, which we live at standard, like most places. We're thankful for that. So it's basically allowing us to have that ability to then apply for our other contracts and or renew some of our contracts. As you guys know, we have, immunization and family planning and a couple of others that we have to renew every year. And this master contract just says that, yes, we understand all the policies and procedures with that.
Okay, so I have on here, I think this is just alluding to the master contract. Is that correct, Tim, on the agenda? That's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I have a workforce one.
Okay. So Colleen, we will do, we will put the workforce contract because it looks like on our agenda, this is only for the master contract. We can do a special meeting to accommodate that if there's a due date on it.
There it is. Okay.
Add
Yeah,
it
no worries.
to May
Mhm.
2nd meeting, whichever you may prefer.
Yes, no, because it is due here before your next regular scheduled meeting in May. It is due by the end of the month back to CDPHE. And so I do have all the details of that I will have Tim forward that to you as well, just explaining what it is. And we just have to have agreement for that. We would like that money.
I think we will try to schedule another meeting towards the end of the week.
Okay,
potentially.
that sounds great.
I'll keep in contact. Tim will keep in contact with you.
Okay, that sounds great, guys. Thank you. Any other questions on the master contract?
No, I think the master contract is really just straightforward. So Tim will pass on the workforce stuff and then he'll connect with you about a meeting later on in the week.
Sounds great.
Okay. Any questions, fellow board members, about the master contract for CDPHE?
No,
No.
Okay.
I don't have the title pulled up though. So is there
That's literally,
okay.
it's called Master Contract between Lake County Public Health Agency and Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment.
Okay.
That's literally.
That's what it's called.
Yeah,
All right.
and I do have the DocuSign from the state.
Oh, good. Okay, so we can get that done.
Yeah, so I
Quickly.
can do that as soon as we're done here, and then I'll get it recorded and sent to Tim and Colin.
Okay. I'll move to approve the master contract between Lake County Public Health and Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion?
Nope.
No.
All right, thanks, Colleen. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Okay, thanks, Colleen. All right, number 5, intergovernmental agreement with Chaffey County concerning undesirable plant management. This was formerly known as weed control. Pretty straightforward. We contract with Chaffey County because we're required to provide weed control for statute. So,
Yeah, the Conservation District really managed and participated on this as the board. Tim, I'm not sure if you had a question or reached out to Kayla Malone to ask about representation, but I think we wanted to chat a little bit here as to who we wanted to have on as our Lake County representation on that board.
Yeah.
So it can continue to be the conservation or representative from the conservation district or group. If you'd like.
okay.
The person who was on it is has retired and was more a representative of the conservation district as well, not a board member of the conservation district. So I might suggest that we ask them for suggestions, or I mean, we could even have like Michael Irwin or Chris Bertola on there. Or I guess the conservation district has their new staff person hired as well. Maybe that person could be that. Who's the Lake County rep?
yeah, because they coordinate closely with our public works department, the maintenance departments already. So I don't know if Michael or Chris has enough time to dedicate to that, or if they're with the conservation district.
Yeah, that might be better with that conservation district person.
I think so.
But-
I felt like I always had a presentation from them at the conservation district meetings or dinners, and they seem to have pretty good handle on it.
Yeah,
So can we approve, consider this pending approval of a representative from the conservation district or public works?
yeah,
Because I don't think
Oh.
there's anything materially in the
Right.
LGA that we need to change. Just
No.
want to make sure that our representation is on there.
Sure. I will move to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Chaffey County concerning undesirable plant management. And with the appointment of a Lake County representative.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I can bring that to the Conservation District's annual meeting tomorrow. and ask them.
Wonderful.
And maybe just to supervise, so just the way you read it, I mean, is it approved contingent on making that selection, or just approved recognizing that we need to?
I would say recognizing that we need to appoint a Lake
That's
County
kind of,
representative.
yeah, we need to hold things up. Okay, our seat.
Okay. Okay,
So,
yeah,
yeah, so not contingent, just recognizing that we need to clarify. it.
yes,
Or
sir.
make that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
No, thank you.
All right. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, excuse me, moving to number 6, airport, Kinley Horn taxiway contract. Sam, I think that you probably had the most conversation with our airport manager or airport director, Josh Adamson. Did you have any information that you'd like to share with us about the contract?
The big thing for you guys to just be aware of is that there's a cost increase on the contract due to getting the price of oil for asphalt. So there's an increase of $120,000. But the county will be can be reimbursed for that in 2023 from the road funds. So that is the request and recommendation of the airport director.
Okay. Okay, and it's for the taxiway construction, which was a piece of the overall runway construction that needed to be finished.
Yeah.
See that aeronautical. Okay, any further questions from either of you on the taxiway contract with Kimball?
Nope.
Not for me.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the contract between the county and Kinley Horn for the airport taxiway construction. I guess nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, construction.
Same.
All right. Any further discussion? No?
No, thank you.
Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Number 7, Colorado Strategic Wildfire Action Program Award Announcement. Commissioner Mudge has been working on wildfire protection planning, and so she has a press release and announcement to share with us. So I'll let you
Yeah,
share that.
thank you.
Yeah.
So the county with Public Works and partners in Arkansas River Watershed Collaborative and other partners who've continued to do work in the basin and in Chaffee and Lake work together to put together a COSWAP, Colorado Strategic Wildfire Program application for SWIFT crews. Those are people, actual people that come in and give us time to work on the ground to do fuel thinning and mitigation. And we were awarded 25 weeks, which has a value of $436,000 and $250. And we're gonna have a meeting later on this week to start the coordination of that. But that's very exciting. One of the things that appears to be unique about Lake is that we have the land through very few partners. So Newmont, CMC, and the county have came together to talk about this application as well. And CMC and Newmont are just proving to be great partners. And between the three entities, we have over 4,000 acres of land. Most of which in this scope is right around the city of Leadville. So it's a lot of treatment in the WUI or the wildland urban interface area, which is really important for critical infrastructure and residential protection of the city. And then we also were awarded a grant from the Natural Resource Damages and the trustees for about 3.9 million to also do 3 projects, one of which includes fuel mitigation, the other is continued river and mine restoration, and then some culvert replacement for fish passage and other river health work. But again, folding in those fuel mitigation efforts with all of the funding opportunities that are coming down the pike from the state and the feds. And it's really exciting to see a lot of the partners come together. So I just wanted to kind of make that formal announcement and let everybody know that we're, coming off of the Community Wildfire Protection Plan amendment and the mapping that we have. The processes have really kind of reignited relationships, and it's been really great getting to work with everybody and meet the new folks and a lot of the transitions that we all have had. And so looking forward to hitting the ground with the Swift crews. And I guess that being said, the next agenda item, we aren't quite ready for that. So what's now 7, I guess, the MOU with CMC, we'll continue to work with CMC to put together an MOU and then an agreement with Newmont, just outlining the expectations of responsibilities for the project as we move forward, and also an agreement with Arwick for managing that project, and we'll bring those to you ASAP.
Wonderful. Cool. All right, so thank you so much for your hard work on that. We appreciate it. Thanks. You should be really proud of the work you've done. Thanks. Yeah. So we don't, go ahead.
I just super quick question, Joe. I'm sorry if you said this and I missed it. When do we think the work might actually start? Like, I mean, just sort of talk about them if we do.
I think that the crews can get on the ground like mid-May, end of May. I'll have that meeting. Tim and I'll, well, I hope Tim will join me in the meeting on Thursday. When to discuss, next steps and logistics, getting that underway. We have to call the Department of Corrections. The DOC has these crews that will be primarily the SWIFT crews, and they're highly trained and they move pretty efficiently and quickly. So we need to just kind of make sure we have all the logistics ironed out.
Great.
Thank you very much. So with that, then we'll skip over number 7 because we're not quite ready for that one, which you touched on. Okay. So number 9 is youth programming services agreement between the commissioners on behalf of the Department of Human Services and AU Ranches Adventure Day Camp. So I believe that this is for 100 elk, is that correct, Kim? So this is with TANF dollars, and we've supported this camp for a few years now, which gives kids that may be too old for the experience at Rocky's Rock, but still might want a summer activity and not able to afford it, the ability to have an experience and provide some childcare at 100 elk with those TANF dollars, and it's been very successful in the past and very well attended.
How many spots do we have? It might have changed. Is it like 16 or
I
something?
thought last year it was 20. Do you know the amount of spots?
And that pays for it, or it subsidizes part of the
It pays
cost
for it.
the entire?
Yeah. It pays for it in full. So it's 20 spots.
That's I remember it being around I don't know, 60 or 20 or something.
What does it say? No, it's 20. Okay. I can ask Janine just for clarification and I'll report back to you guys too. Or perhaps some data.
So should people go to DHS directly if they're interested, or is the school district vetting any of this for us? Or would they contact elk for 400 elk?
I'm not sure. Let's see. Chris,
I was looking at the figure, and we're trying to figure out the number of spots. It looks like 12 campers.
okay.
12? Okay.
And then in agreement or exhibit A, I'm sorry. It provides culturally expansive programming for youth ages 6 to 18, including self-regulation, secure attachment, mastery of communication and language skills, ability to make friends, reliable support and discipline from caregivers, protection from harm, opportunities to resolve conflict, support for early learning of peer relationships, language-based rather than physically based discipline, positive partnering between program and family, enhancement of fine and gross motor development, cognitive development, communication skills, enhancement of human and emotional control. So I think you just sign up through 100 elk. I think that there's, I don't know how or perhaps through the school district is how they have it signed up. Oh, no. I'll have to ask Janine about that and then can report back to you guys. But it comes from our TANF funding. And the state has released the funding to be utilized on this.
I love the application. Create that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, one of the things that they put in there is that they talked about up to 12 campers within table 1, and he said that it says up to 26 slots.
Mhm.
So
There might be day programs, I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
I
but-
think that there's multiple opportunities. So you can, it's kind of like Rocky's Rock where it's a multi-week camp or a day spot. So kind of a multitude of opportunity.
And also, as I read that sentence about the 12 campers, I think that might just be their description of their group size, not. like
That's what I was gonna say, so it looks like that. I mean, that's what they're doing.
Not our slots in the program.
All right.
Well, yeah, just report back on how we can, if and how we can best promote.
I will do that.
But I'll make a motion to approve the agreement between Department of Human Services and AU Ranches Adventure Camp, Adventure Day Camp.
Before, there's like, I'm just curious, I had done a review of the proposed contract and there's some changes to it, and I didn't know, have we received that back from them, signed with the changes? So
I will amend my motion. Yes, all right, okay. Strike that. I'll move to approve the youth programming services agreement between Lake County on behalf of Department of Human Services and AU Ranch Adventure Day Camp, pending final legal review and approval.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion?
I mean, maybe just note on Chris's comment that I mean, think the one substantive comment was the insurance coverage. Or, feel free to add Chris if there's more, but I think that was the one that caught my eye.
Okay.
I was over there.
Okay.
That's part of, there's just another
Yeah.
kind of work, like.
Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? Commissioner?
No, nothing from me.
Nothing from me either. Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to number 9, reading of the dynamic project management memorandum of firms that bid for architectural and engineering work for the Community Justice Center. Commissioner Fiedler has been working on the executive committee with our project management firm, Dynamic Project Management, and Tomato for the architectural and engineering work with the Justice Center. And that just started in this budget cycle, so I'll let you talk us through the memo.
Yeah, and maybe clarification. I wasn't sure if I said reading. I mean, I'm happy to read in the memo that we have from Colleen, or I could summarize it. I'm not sure.
I think you can summarize it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. It is 2 pages long,
Thanks.
which isn't the worst thing we've written, correct? Right? Yeah, so as you said, I mean, we've begun the exciting next step with the Justice Center, having procured the site and begun working with our owners who have done a program, thank you. Program management, DPM, begun. Really the 2 big parts of getting the team up and running is hiring an architect and design firm, and then the construction management general contractor. So we've begun those 2 selection processes, and this now it just lays out the first of those, the process we're sort of in the tail end of, but how we've been selecting the architect and design firm. And I think I'll maybe just highlight a couple of things. There was a request for qualifications and proposals that went out. Colleen Canada, the head of DPM, made a big effort to make sure that was stipulated. And as one indication of that, we did get 26 firms requested that bid package, and especially some interest. And we got at the end of the day 5 firms presenting their responses to that bid. I'll read those out. It's Anderson Mason Vale Architects, Anderson Hollis, D2C Architects, Riley Johnson Architects, and Trina HL. So 5 firms submitted. The selection committee selected 3 of those to come for in-person interviews with the selection committee. The 3 firms were Anderson Hollis, D2C, and Riley Johnson. They did each appear in person. That selection committee conducted the same interview questions and process for each of them, and then discussed then on the following day, and then made a recommendation. Colleen Canada to conduct reference checks, and then again, the recommendation to select Riley Johnson Architects. And at this point, we are in the process of working through contract language with them and finalizing those details for that selection. And I'll just maybe add one other thing. We'll be following a similar process for the construction company. I will also just read out, as part of the package, we did get fee information. So I'll just read that out for the record. So those three firms that did provide their base fees were for Anderson Hollis, it was at $2,421,216 for the base fee. D2C was $2,074,530, and Riley Johnson was $2,402,700. I'll just note for the record that cost ended up not being a strong factor of the firms that were in that final selection. The fees were quite close. And that's it. Questions?
No, thank you.
And certainly going forward, Colleen is now our owner's rep, so they'll hold our questions and clarifications, and we'll start getting regular updates as part of our regular BOCC.
Very good. We'll filter those through you and Tim
Yeah.
if we have any questions.
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you so much for the update. We appreciate it. All right, so moving on to number 11, Monica Warren design for the Colorado Historic Opera House Circuit Grant Project contract. I have not seen this, so I will let you chat us through it, Tim, if that's appropriate.
I don't think so.
So this is a contract through the tourism panel, which basically we build on the work we've done by the Colorado Historic Opera Houses Circuit Grant Program. And this
Okay.
I can tag in a little bit. There's the CTO, the Colorado Tourism Office. It's a grant that the the tourism panel submitted for. And then I guess this is some contract work at a value under $7,000. But the work is to, I believe, coordinate with 10 opera houses around the state and create some tour and marketing and promotion for the visitation of those. And the Tabor Opera House is one of those locations. And so I think this woman will be actually creating that content and the plan.
Okay. Perfect. I don't have any other questions. Okay.
Move to approve the contract with Monica Lauren Design for the Colorado Historic Opera Houses Circuit Grant Project.
Okay. My only piece of discussion has it been vetted by legal?
I was just looking for that in my inbox and I don't know if I received that. So if you would do that.
Okay, so do you want to amend your motion? Legal.
Sure. Sure. All right. I move to approve a contract with Monica Lauren Design for the Colorado Historic Opera Houses Circuit Grant Project to include a professional services agreement, both with review by legal.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right, any further discussion?
No, thank you.
No? Okay. All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you very much. Okay, number 12, CJK Milling, the existing CUP update. And if you would like to come up and chat us through the existing CUP, and then anyone that's here from CJK Milling, if you'd like to move up a little closer, it sounds like you might have some issues with audio. Just make sure everybody can hear everybody. Maybe speak loudly. I don't have another microphone, sorry.
You don't have a microphone to amplify things.
Yeah.
right?
All right. I'll turn my, well, actually, you should probably turn your computer because you have the audio.
So this is CJK CUP that was done in 2011. File number 1107 has an annual review requirement. And they have been consistent in providing their annual review. This year, we asked them, although it's a little early in the year, they typically do this in September. But we did ask them if they would be willing to come up in person to just address any questions and concerns that the board had. I did forward the review to everyone so that you take a look at it. Largely, a lot of these items still have either been already addressed or they become more relevant upon actual production at the mill once that starts. There have been a few changes or in the water. I'll let the group kind of talk about that. But if you don't have any real questions for staff to start with, the other thing that I would just mention is that the overview that the applicant has included talks about some future conditional use permits that will be coming forth from the applicant once they have worked through a couple other items. And so I think it was good that those are included in the overview, but those will be upcoming conditional use permits. And so I think today's focus will just be on a review of the existing CUP to show compliance.
Yeah, I think
So-
that's just kind of what we wanted to focus on is the existing CUP.
Did you all get the conditions? I printed one out if you want to see one before.
I have it on my computer. Do you want a
Can I
copy?
see your printout since I'm
Yes.
using my computer for, sure, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I would be happy to introduce the Michaels.
Sure, thank you.
And the Garys. To just go ahead and present their own annual update if you would.
Sure, for sure.
Good afternoon.
Do you want to?
So my name is Mudge, and I guess I represent Union Milling Contractors, and we were the prior owners. So in 2019, we sold the entirety of our asset, the Leadville mill, to CJK Milling. So there's been a lot of name, and I think it's important to say this up front, just for clarification. When we owned it before, the mill was owned by an entity called Constructive Investments. And that was a group of myself and my partners. And we started an operating company to operate the mill that was called Union Milling Company. And so the reason we did that was so the asset would be owned by the same entity, but it would be separate. And we had some tax advice and whatever to do that. So that's the reason we did that, and for some liability things for operations. So the mill itself we refer to as the Leadville mill. So in 2019, Constructive Investments sold the assets to CJK Milling. So the Union Milling Company, it doesn't exist anymore. And so our new condition is that we're going to be contractors to operate the mill for the owner. So Union Milling Contractors is the contractor that will be operating the mill on behalf of the owner. Okay. And it's just kind of confusing, I know. Anyway, so that's kind of where we're at. So how would you like me to, let me just go through the items going down the list?
Or if you want to introduce Gary Nippa and Gary.
Oh, yeah, and so Gary Knippa is the owner, and he came in 2019. Gary Slifka has always been, I met Gary way back in 2007 or 8 when we first purchased the mill. And Gary's a local, and he's been a lot of help for us finding local labor, he's kind of our man on the ground here in Leadville, and has been on and off since 2007. So he's an independent person. He's represents himself, and when we need his services, we bring him on as an independent contractor. I'm sure you guys all know Gary. So when we started this, I guess I gave my line. I thought you
Where that all trucks making deliveries must have engine brake mufflers.
Right, correct. And so that's a condition, obviously, for noise. Noise, as you might expect, noise and traffic were big concerns back then, and they're continue to be concerns today. And so we agreed that all our trucks would have they would be muffled and no Jacobson brakes, air brakes for that. So that condition is a condition we agree to. And even when we don't really have deliveries now, but when we were operating, we made that requirement of our contractors as well. But again, not many braking. There's not a lot of braking when you're just moving around in the site there.
Condition number 2, where the applicant has 1 year to complete and alter existing perimeter fence in accordance with Colorado Division of Wildlife recommendations.
Correct. So when we did our original permit, and this was part of our state permit, the fencing was 4-wire or some places 5-wire bar fence that was installed prior to our purchase of the mill. And the Colorado Department of Wildlife looked at it and recommended that we stagger the barbed wire certain distances to allow small animals, big animals, to kind of make it more animal friendly. And so as soon as we got our CUP, we went out and made those changes. So that condition has been fulfilled. And then every spring, after all the migration, we come and right about now, the next 3 weeks, we'll go out there and make fence repairs. And again, important to note that is part of our state permit as well.
That's great. That's great. Comments. All equipment in operation on site must use strobe lights after dark to indicate reverse gear instead of audible alarms. And I think you'll talk about perhaps a way that you think that you even improve this beyond what the.
Correct. Again, noise was an issue, and the neighbors were concerned about backup noises. And this would be an issue for front end loaders going forward and backward. We all hear the obnoxious beeping noise. And at the time, the commissioners required us to have the backup monitors are required by law, but there's new technologies. At the time, they recommended that we have the backup alarms during the day and strobe light backup indicators at night for nighttime operations. We agreed to that condition, but we recommended to Lake County that they allow us to amend that to use what's it called?
Broadband.
Yeah, broadband sound. So if you ever hear it, it's kind of a buzzing noise. It goes buzz, 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 and it's very directional. So if you're standing behind the unit, you can hear it, but if you stand on the sides of it, you can't hardly hear it. And if you're even 100 or 200 feet away from it, you virtually cannot hear it at all. I mean, you can kind of hear it, but it goes away, and it's a great mitigant. And so not so much an issue now, but when we get into operations, I think that's something we should visit and see if we could get that kind of amendment. We installed one of those units last year at site on one of our pieces of equipment.
So anyone that's interested, you can go out there and you can experience, see what it sounds like. And in our report there, we also have a YouTube link that you see there. And I check it every year when we do our annual reports to make sure it's still active. And there's a neat video. It's obviously an advertisement, right? But it's a neat video that kind of gives you an idea what that sounds like. But again, anyone's welcome to come listen to it in person to get an idea. So that's kind of an open item.
The next condition was that all external lights on facility must be fully shielded and downcast.
Yeah, and again, the local neighbors were concerned about light pollution. Not too much of a concern because of the trees, but again, that's not a problem. And again, once we got our CUP, we went out there and just put downcasts on all the outside lights. At this point in time, and for the last few years, the power's been shut off there, so there are no lights. But when the lights come on, they will be downcast.
Let's see, all loads on delivery trucks will be covered.
Yes, correct. Again, this is a dust issue and actually keeping the road clean issue and not having debris and things falling off the road as well. And we agreed to that as well. And again, that will become more acute when we start operating.
Next, no load deliveries will occur between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. And this has a beginning September 1, 2011, because of anticipation of production,
Right.
but would be relevant in perpetuity.
Correct. And again, we agreed to that condition.
The next one was a condition from 2011, and then there was a hearing in December 21st, 2015, whereby there was an amendment to the condition. So it all is in respect to water, and so I think we worded it here with the condition that came out of that CUP hearing in 2015, and that's a permanent water plan will be fully implemented within 3 years from the start of the operation of the milling company process. They're on site, as well as reaffirmation that the acquisition of a minimum 10,000 gallon of dedicated fire water protection remain in effective full force. I think this is probably an area that has had probably the most change since your original 2011 applications.
Yeah, this one and the entry and the access were the two big items. Yeah. So again, when we originally started, the anticipation was that we're going to get started right away. Unfortunately for us, timing is everything. And the company that was going to provide the ore for us lost its financing. And anyway, long story short, gold prices dropped, and then we went into that recession of gold, and here we are today. So that's what started all of this. And I would say that when we did it at the time, the commissioners, this was probably what they were most adamant about. What they wanted was for us to secure what they call permanent water, and they wanted us to adjudicate water from the Arkansas Valley watershed, I guess that's what it's called. And at the time, and I believe it's still the case today, that there are, as over-adjudicated as the Arkansas River is there still remain 400 acre feet of water that can be purchased or leased for use in mining and milling operations. So our idea was to, at the time, was to put in a well and then go through the adjudication process, water court and all that, and put in a well. And we were given, I think, 3 years time to do that. In the meantime, we were going to just purchase water from Lake County through the hydrant up on Harrison Street. And at the time, that hydrant wasn't capable of producing water year round because they said November or October 31st to the spring, they would shut it down. So what we did at the time, we were funded. We spoke with Parkville Water, and we purchased for them that water generator. So we bought that for them, and the deal was that we would purchase it, and then they would pay to install it. So we got together with Greg and purchased it, bought it up, and they installed it. And so that's where we're gonna get our water for 3 years. When we saw that was not gonna happen, we had to come back to the table. We had another meeting about that, and what the commissioners decided at that time was to amend it to say that it would be 3 years after we start operating. So that was, I think, the fundamental change there. Now, part of that is we had to maintain fire water as well. So we have to have 10,000 gallons of dedicated water for fire. That cannot be used in our process. It needs to sit there, and it needs to be heated in the winter, of course, so it's not a big ice cube in the winter time. So that condition remains, and that's a 10,000 gallon condition that we see there. I think that.
What is your alternative for, like, I mean, to me, the commissioners might not be able, you would be required by the state through DRMS to acquire that water for operating, right?
Correct.
So what is what the commissioners we're asking for on top of what the state and is permitting for water use, or what's your alternative? What would be your alternative plan?
An alternative plan, and to be honest, Commissioner Mudge, I'm not sure why they were adamant about owning the water. And I'm not, honestly not clear as to why they wanted that, but they wanted it. Our other choice would be to purchase water from Parkville. Sort of like.
For the operations,
For
and
the
you'd have a larger storage tank up there. Perhaps that will keep that.
Well, what we would do is connect to the
Reservoirs
to
up there?
the fire hydrant. So there's a hydrant that is due, just almost say due east of the plant, right at the edge of Stringtown. So the water, parts of the water ends in Stringtown. And there's a hydrant that was pointed out to us, and they said, if you want, you could buy water from here. And we at your own cost, we put in a pipeline, connect to right here, and then we would sell you water. So that was a alternative as well that we could do. But what they wanted us to do is to secure water for our operation. And I think it was more for, if I would speculate, it was more for us and for them to make sure that we had water, because without water, we can't operate. And they just wanted to make sure we appreciate what it takes to secure water. And that's just a speculation.
I think that would be accurate to make sure that the conditional use permit would be valid, if it wouldn't be also concerns. The next is the permit holder must be able to demonstrate on an annual basis, if requested, that he or she has the legal and physical access to the site.
Okay. Yeah.
Can we, I just for everybody online and just clarifying, if we're talking about the one site on 24 or both, or any other sites that are in operation.
We are only talking about this site on Highway 24, and the address is on the 13815 Highway 24.
Okay.
So we're specifically talking about the mill located at that address.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify so that people aren't confusing.
Correct. And to be even more clear, that is the only property that there's a permit for.
Yes.
Okay.
Conditional use permit for. There is no other conditional use permit for anything else.
Okay, so again, the legal physical access.
Yeah, okay, so when we purchased this property, the property came with an easement to access it. And the easement, the legal easement for this property is basically borders on the east side of our property, right up against where Leadville sanitation is. So there's no driveway there or anything, but when you see it platted out, that is where the entrance is. And the road, the existing entrance is not a, what the word is, it's not a permitted access. It's not a permanent access. And one of the requirements was that we obtain a permanent access. This was in 2011. And interestingly, in 2011, and actually before you even joined us then, so we got our CUP, and we went and met with the commissioners and say, okay, we're ready to do this, and what is the process to do that so we can get this process started? And they said, well, what if we just leave it where it is? This is what the commissioners came back to us. And we said, well, it's a requirement, we need to change it. They said, well, we would prefer that you don't put in another access there. Just leave it the way it is. And because CDOT doesn't want another driveway on Highway 24. That's just the last thing they need, yet one more entrance. And so we agreed to leave it the way it is. And so, and because we have to cross someone else's, basically their private drive, so we can access, because we don't have our own permitted actual access. The commission is required that we negotiate with the owner, Alan Bart Phillips, who own that strip, and get permission to have that, and then we have to maintain that permission for the entirety of our conditional use permit. So what we've done is we met with Al, and we got a contract, and we renewed it it was 5-year contract. So the owner wanted to renew it every 5 years. So every 5 years we renewed it. And then one of the conditions of that agreement was that agreement expires if we change owners. So when we sold, we met with Al again, and he made some amendments to that agreement, and then we signed it. And I think it was in September. October, yeah, October, yeah. We're talking about it in September, and that has a 5-year life. So we still maintain that access currently. Now we still have that easement. So if anything ever happens, we can always exercise that easement. But it was to everyone's benefit that we maintain it the way it is. I think that summarizes it.
So just to clarify, I got confused there right again. So you have an easement that runs to the property, but rather than force that issue, you chose to negotiate a voluntary agreement.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And with the encouragement of the commissioners,
Sure.
because we would be in violation of our CUP if we didn't.
Yeah.
Correct.
24/7 operation is allowed.
Correct. And this is a topic that we talked about quite a bit during the process. And one of the questions was, well, couldn't you just shut down at night and start up again? And, theoretically, you can do that. But when you have a mining operation, really, it needs to keep running to stay constant. So when these plants produce, you can't turn them on and off again, because they have to get up to running speed and everything. And so it becomes very difficult to open, run it, not run it, not run it, not run it. So we requested that we would be allowed to do that. But our compromise was that, look, these are just pumps running, and most of them are going to be running indoors, that you're not going to hear them. It's not loud. And the only noise would be truck deliveries and maybe crushing. And so our plan was that all truck deliveries would be during the daylight hours, and all the crushing would be during first shift during the day. And again, the crushing would be in a sound insulated building anyway. So you really wouldn't hear it that much anyway, but you do hear noise and commotion. The most that you would hear really is the trucks pulling in and out. Really, that's what you would hear. And then occasionally the rocks falling into the hopper for the crusher. Crushing would probably be you know, I'll say 6 hours, probably more like 4 hours, but we'll say 6 hours just to give us a little, we can crush the material fairly quickly. So it's this balancing act of delivering it all and then crushing it really fast, because we can crush a lot faster than we can deliver. So that's kind of what our compromise was. And then there's another condition that goes with that.
So I would just mention too that you are limited to certain sound pollution through your DRS permit, is that correct? As well as code. So our code says that you're not allowed to exceed a certain decibel level from the
Correct.
perimeter of your site. And then the other, we already mentioned this, but I just wanted to reiterate it, that the load deliveries will only occur between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. So to what you were saying, you know, that the trucks aren't going to be leaving, coming and going from the site during those hours between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. And then DRMS permit as well as code, our code itself. So the other thing as I'm reading is it would have been good for me to have all of the specific standards, which I can pull up if you're interested, or I can shoot them over to you, that guide outside of these conditions. So these conditions are on top of all of those other regulations that are already in place.
Correct. And I just, one correction I need to make. CDRMS does not regulate the sound. That's from the county.
That's from the county.
And you guys tell us, we have to abide by your rule on that, not the state. The state leaves it to the county for noise.
And I believe it's 70 decibels.
And I believe you're right. It is 70 decibels.
So there are also, as we're going through these conditions are over and above the ones that are set in the code. So I can send those over and show you.
And you said there hasn't been energy to the site for a few years. Is that the last time that it was operating? So there's no,
There can be no noise.
there's no noise
There
right
can be
now.
no light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
And was it operating full tilt up until that point, or
No.
were there some things happening inside?
The
Both the
mill
rails
last
are-
operated in 2001. Yeah, I think around 2001 was the last time it operated. The only noise that ever was in there was during construction period. A little bit of construction in 2007, some construction in 2011, and some stuff that was done last
2012.
2020, yeah, last summer, or 2 summers ago. Yeah, 2 summers. Yeah, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I lost the whole year.
Yeah, right.
I just,
I know, like too.
I don't know what happened to it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, a lot of these conditions reflect, you know, being open and in operation. Number 10, applicant will facilitate 10 regular parking spaces, including 1 handicap space.
Correct, and we agreed to that condition, and the handicap space is allocated to be up front, up close, and when we start operating, we'll even, the idea was to also have a ramp there. But, you know, again, any handicap access inside the building would be limited just to the office, just for safety purposes, right? If we needed to bring some, you know, a special needs person inside, we would do that. We would welcome that, but we would make very special arrangements, yeah, conditions and arrangements for that.
Number 11 is the applicant will facilitate training first responders within 90 days of startup.
Right, and that is a requirement from MSHA. MSHA regulates that very, and the state as well, obviously, that's a biggie.
Number 12, Nick has already addressed it. The Board of Commissioners will review the CP for file 1107 annually or on any change of ownership or conversion to a custom mill.
Correct. So maybe I should explain a custom mill. versus
Yeah,
a
that was my
typical mill.
question.
Yeah, okay. So when we first purchased the mill was dedicated to a specific mine. And that's what we were going to do originally, because there was a certain mine that was actually in Boulder County, and we were going to treat their ore. And that all fell apart when we talked about that. So we said, okay, well, what else can we do? There's a lot of opportunity here. So again, this has been a journey, right? And so we said, okay, we need to be a little more flexible. So in the state of Colorado, you can have a mill, a typical mill. When you get a mill permit from the Colorado Department of Reclamation, it is specific to a mine, not to a company, but a mine. So for example, up on the hill here, Climax, that mill can only treat ore that comes out of that mine. If Climax owned hypothetically another mine right across the street, you know, where the jerky guy is, right across the street, they could not treat that ore in that mine, at that mill. They would have to build a standalone mill. And at the time, you can get what's called a custom mill. A custom mill allows you to treat ore from any mine. So the qualification there is that when you treat ore from any mine, you have to characterize all that ore. And each ore that's done needs to be characterized. So that's a material difference in the permitting process. So they have a whole different process for that. So when we were looking at our options, and I think that was around 2011, when was that? That wasn't 11, it was like 14 or 15. We started looking into it and we said, well, you know, we need to have that kind of flexibility because we want to be a toll mill. We don't really want to, you know, that's really what so we got that. And we'd explained all this to the commissioners as well. And they said, okay, so we're going to do this right now as a regular, but when you get your toll permit, then you need to notify us. And so when we got it, when does it? When was it that we got it? Let's see here.
2014.
Yeah, 2014 or 15, when we got it, we notified Paul. Paul was here by then. That we got it. And so that was again, we follow the conditions and then we just notify you. And then again, the other condition, I guess.
So, right, and you already had talked about ownership and over conversion to a custom mill. And then the next condition was applicant will address the obligation upon complaints. Again, keeping in mind that it's codified that you can't exceed 70 decibels.
Correct. And
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just catching up. So on that question of toll, looking in the permit, is that just a notification requirement? And that's not something that we control, right? That's
No.
the RMS.
the RMS controls it.
So that's just so
Yeah, right. It was informative to the commissioner. They just wanted to know. They just want to know,
yeah.
as you rightfully said, is what's going on.
Okay.
And that's what that was. And at the time, the Department of Health managed toll mills. So CDRMS could not permit a toll mill. Department of Health had to permit the toll mill. And so when we started this process, and this has been a problem, an ongoing problem, it's like a little history, right? And Department of Health went to the mine, you know, the Department of CDRMS and said, what are we supposed to do with this? And so they said, okay, we're responsible, but you guys really need to manage this for us. And so we were actually, this mill was the first toll mill to actually be permitted by DRMS instead of the Department of Health. Interesting. Anyway, point of information. Yeah, the only other toll mill in the state of Colorado is a uranium mill out in Naturita. And that was actually permitted by the Department of Health. So there's only 2 permitted toll mills in the state.
That's interesting, yeah. Interesting. And so the last condition was sound mitigation. If you receive complaints.
And code says 70 decibels?
And code says 70 decibels.
Yeah.
I see that. And I will get you the list of new specific standards consistent with mining that would have already been items just for the board's information or standard conditions.
That's 70 decibels is at the property line.
Correct.
That's property.
Yes.
Right. And again, when we start operating, we will discuss this. Because when the wind blows, it's almost 80 or 90 decibels at the property line. Just without doing anything. So that's going to be an
The wind
interesting.
is that one. That's what
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, like that's about, we'll, you know, of course, we're gonna adhere to that condition. It's not an issue.
Are there any other things, Nick, Gary, that you'd like the commissioners to know about? And then any questions that the board has? Since we have the applicants here, the applicant here, property owner here. Just an outstanding questions or concerns about the current conditional use permit or the site. I don't know. I think that
I didn't do it too. I went to the public events up at the shop. Figuring that out.
yes.
I think something that would be helpful to the commissioners to know, it's not in there, is some of the ongoing obligations. Just because we're not operating, it doesn't mean that we don't have obligations. And just again, just for information, the state doesn't regulate how we mine, right? We have a right to mine. What we don't have a right to do is mess up the environment. We don't have that right. And that's why it's a safety reclamation, right? Like Department of Mining Reclamation and Safety, right? So what the state is concerned about is that we maintain the integrity of the earth, the water, the air, the land, the soil, and whatnot. And so the state looks at what we want to do, and they say, okay, that meets the requirements. That's our permit. But in the meantime, we have to do all these things. And so we're required to maintain the fences for wildlife. We are required to test water. So we, back in 2007 or 8, we started, we have 2 wells, one up gradient and one down gradient from our operation. And every quarter, we have to collect water samples, sample the water for quality, even though we're not operating. So we do that on a quarterly basis and we collect that information. There are some historic piles of material that are on the site that were a legacy. They came with the property when we bought it. We are required to keep that material contained. So we contain it with BMP's haystack things around it and keep it covered. And again, as you hear, the weather tears it up and we don't repair it. So we do all of that, and we have to maintain the topsoil piles for reclamation. We are bonded for reclamation, so we had to put money, cash money up in an account. That's not. I mean, it's in the state's name, right? So if we were to default for reclamation, the funding is there. We are inspected every year by the state. We have to do an annual report to the state. Like we do with you guys, a little more comprehensive with the state. And we have to ensure that we have enough material to do our reclamation, enough topsoil for the reclamation plan that was approved. And the state can alter our bond anytime they want at their will or at their. So if they say that, okay, you know, this bond is going to cost a little bit more, you got to pony up some more money. So we have to do that. So we're very highly regulated, even though nothing is going on out there. The state is all over us with this stuff. And again, we're inspected every year. So it's something to know. And, you know, we do keep water records. And if the county is interested in that kind of baseline water quality, we're happy to share that information with you guys. You know, I think the more information we have on things, the smarter we are, the better decisions we can make. And we're certainly happy to share any of that kind of information. That's really the only real tangible information that we collect.
I think that
You're
would be
certainly welcome to it if you want.
great. Share that. Maintain that in the file.
And I will email that to you, Ann. Can I do that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll email you that file this afternoon.
Okay.
It's an Excel spreadsheet file. And there's a bunch of stacked up reports if you want all those reports as well. So on those do as well. And electronic.
Right.
You don't need more paper.
No, but we can maintain those in the file just in case there's any questions. The new beneficial information for us.
Yeah. So would you like all those reports electronically as well? Why not?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Let's just go ahead and maintain them in your file.
Sure.
There's no
Sure.
reason not to.
Sure, absolutely. We'll share those.
You see, what variation in the water levels in your well, the test wells that you have?
We do between spring and summer.
Sure.
Yeah. We do. And I would say that maybe a foot or two.
Okay.
Yeah, but all that's in the data there, so you can look at it quarter by quarter. And we've been collecting it since 2007. So there's quite a bit of it.
Would be great.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds really great. And thank you for, just raising our awareness of the oversight by DRMS and the annual inspections that they do. Is there any reports that come out of the state annual inspections that you want to share with us?
Yeah, you know what? We could do, that's all public information. I'll include all the state annual reports as well. Yeah. And the state just went electronic, so you'll see a change in the format a little bit of it. But yeah,
Okay.
you know, I'll send all that. I'll put it all in a Dropbox and share it. Yeah. And we'll just make sure to include you. You know, what we'll do is every September when we do this, I'll just give you that year's worth of information. Or do you want it more?
I think right now this will be good to catch us up, and then I think I'll just including it in the annual report.
Just
Don't mind voluntarily doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's nothing to do.
Okay.
And just attaching a couple of files.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
Certainly beneficial, I think.
Yeah, and also, you know, we invite anyone to come visit us and see what we're doing. And I know, you know, there's rules for you as commissioners, but anyone in the community is welcome to just call us up, or if they know Gary, they can get a hold of Gary and we can get you a tour. And
If you want to have another open house this spring, open to it, and one that's been done.
I think it's fair to say too, that we do have the 110-2 mining permit. It was issued by the state almost a year ago.
right. So, but again, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that.
Yeah, I think there is a nice, and your annual reports are public, so anyone that's listening in today, there is a good kind of heads up about what's going to be happening with incoming CP applications.
Can we talk about that, Ann?
I think if we keep it real general, I think that we need to be just but I think the overview that you shared in my annual report is probably enough for now, unless there's something just kind of general that you'd like to share.
Okay. Well, I'll just say that at a very high level, we are going to process the mine. The mill is going to process material that is on the surface, not mine, but on the surface up on Breeze Hill, right off of County Road 1. And the first area has been permitted by the state, and that permit has been approved by the state. However, we can't do anything because we don't have a CUP. And the reason we haven't submitted a CUP yet is, what's the use of having a CUP for a mine when you don't have enough? So we have it prepared and it's ready to be submitted to the commissioners for review once that happens. And that CUP is, there's issues that we need to discuss about that one. And also, separate permit is the Arkansas Valley Slag. So CJK purchased that slag as well to just process and sell it. And that permit is almost ready to be approved by the state, hasn't been approved yet. And that permit upon approval, probably in the next couple of weeks, we're very, very close. Once that is approved, then we will submit a formal start the CUP process. And that will be actually the first project that will start by CJK here in Leadville. Would be that project, not the mill. And so that CUP is also prepared, but as you know, the condition of the CUP, one of the things in the CUP is we have to get the permit. So we don't have that. We're missing that little thing. Any little thing.
Us to go through the local process.
So-
once we have the assurance.
So, yeah, and we've been in communication with Anna and her team about all of these things. So we're much better in communicating now. We have a website that anyone can go and see what we're doing. And speaking with Patrick about the paper as well.
What's the website address?
CJKmilling.com.
Wonderful.
We're always open for questions from anybody and anyone that wants to come see what we're doing and get the grand tour. And in the spring, we'll give you the real grand tour. We can go and show you everything that we're proposing. Appropriately, of course.
I think that does the board have any questions for staff? I will get you over those other standard, specific standards that were associated. Because as we're going through this, I think we're taking these in a lot of context. So thank you for giving that kind of just history and what all the different attributes and the state inspections and such. So that those are beneficial. Just going through the conditions of they're hard to understand without the context that you gave. Thank you for that. And I'll get them to specific standards over and masters and anything else that you might find.
I will, maybe actually more for the CJK is this overview of the project highlights to me was super helpful just to like remind myself of all the moving pieces and how we got to where we are. Is that on your website or could it be, I mean, it's a public document, right?
All of the history describes on it. We can certainly include it.
Well, even just, I mean, just sort of like 1 page overview and the project, 2021 highlights. And, get questions and people.
Would it be appropriate for me to include that in our September annual report that's coming up?
Sure, I think that's fine. I think to include an overview, just like you did, of kind of where the status of things are in your progression, I think that would be just fine.
Yeah, I just wanted as a suggestion as you're putting stuff up on your website. I found this a very digestible place to get started.
Yeah, and then what I try to do is kind of make it from our annual report chronological, so you can. So every year I just add a new year to it, and that way you can just in one place see the whole story of what happened.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Anything else? Anything else?
I don't have any questions on the existing permit.
Okay. Yeah,
Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming up in person and
Yeah.
talking with us and chatting.
Yeah, happy to anytime. It's just it's a short hour and 38 minutes. Not bad at all. It's not bad at all.
Good. Well, thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So you can take your computer back, probably. Thank you all so much. We appreciate it. Okay, so moving on, that is the last piece of new business on our agenda today. And so we will move into reports, minutes, bills, and payroll. We have the public trustee report. Any questions on that?
I don't have any questions on
I
the
didn't
public
have any
trustee report.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion for that.
I move to approve the public trustee report
I'll second.
Okay,
quarterly, right?
quarterly. Yes.
Yep.
Any further discussion on this?
No,
No? Okay, all those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
I'll move to approve the veteran service officer report for March 2022.
I'll second.
No discussion?
Not for me.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. And we have a whole slew of minutes.
So the first set from September, on the September 20th, 2021, this got punted a number of times. And the set that Patty sent over looked like she had included the DOLA grant. Yeah, we read into the resolution. I think it was resolution 2021.
Mhm.
So that looked accurate to me.
Okay. And then you didn't have any comments or adjustments on the remaining minutes?
I do, well, there was, let's see.
Yes.
So the September 20 looked great. January 11th looked good. January 24th looked good. January 27th looked good. And February 7th looked good. And then I sent over some track changes on or I can send over the LCCHP meeting on January 5th. And I'll send all these to you, Cindy and
Okay.
Patty. Just had there was, I think the attempt was to try to summarize verbal summary of a number of different conversations, and it was just confusing and not necessary. So I omitted some stuff and just added that building and land use is curious to discuss and learn if and how they may need to review the institutional controls in areas of the county and understand how land use how can best review and monitor that activity. Because I think otherwise and out of context, it might cause alarm that there was there's some misleading things, I think. And there wasn't anything alarming. There's a special meeting on the 5th as well. And I just, Jeff, do you have that pulled up also
The special meeting.
with my comments? It said the RFP was awarded, but I changed that to the selection committee suggests that the RFP be awarded to dynamic program management because we hadn't made that up.
Yeah, that seems more accurate. Just to be crystal clear that that's actually, I mean, the BOCC actually does the final award.
Okay.
I don't think Tim was on. Were you on the selection committee for
Dynamic.
project management? Okay. And then just Colleen, can you just make spelling of her name?
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I had there. Let's see, the next one, January 18th.
Sorry, on the January 5th one, that's a super tiny thing I noticed, on the board review, the board of review seats. It's like the fourth, the paragraph down. It's even for Cameron.
Millard.
Millard, yep. Okay, I made that correction on here too.
I don't. It seems odd to me
What?
that there was a recommendation to seat them, but they haven't submitted letters of intent. I don't think by that Good point.
January 5th.
January 5th. Because we had tabled it
Oh,
because
yeah.
we didn't have letters of interest for the board appointments yet. And so we had to do a review of board terms to make sure that they had the correct terms. So I don't think that there was a recommendation to seat them from the board of review. They hadn't actually met, so I would remove
Strike
that.
it?
Yeah, I would take that.
Okay, sorry.
Or are we striking or just like changing it to like board of review? Membership
Was tabled.
tabled?
Yeah, you can put that probably, Sarah. That'd be great. That'd be fine.
Board of Review. Okay. All right, and the 18th, I think, was the next. I don't have a lot there. I just added the approval of the agenda. I think we added St. Vincent's Hospital CEO instead of just CEO. As, and his update to us as a discussion item, which we then summarize in item 1. I just spelled out the NRD acronym and let's see. Again, I changed project management to program management in item 3 for the Justice Center with the approval of dynamic program management for the Justice Center. Project management. Okay. That's all. Oh, go
When did we do our annual resolution?
ahead. The 11th, maybe?
So I don't think that I made these motions as the chair.
Maybe, hold on, let me look.
But I don't think, because I don't think that I made a board appointments. Okay, this was on the 18th, so this might be correct. This would be correct then. On the 18th. Okay.
Annual board appointments were the 4th item
Yeah,
on the
2018.
January 18th.
Okay, so that might be correct. Because then you finished the meeting as chair.
I think so. Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's how we did that.
Okay, so we're good.
Okay. I think there was just a typo in the bottom of that I changed, and then also it captured all the minutes, including September 20th, which we had tabled again from that meeting. So I struck those from that list of minutes that were approved.
Okay.
And just put regular meeting held September 20th, needed further review from clerk to be sure that building information was accurately captured. So just added that to that, but not a ton of changes there. And the 7th was fine. And the 7th was fine. The 24th was also. I'm not sure if that. Oh yeah. The 24th was fine, as far as I do.
Okay, look at format.
There was. Hold on, there's some. No, that's fine. We did, wait, actually, sorry. So in looking at all the bills and payroll that you had listed, or the clerk had listed, we did approve bills and payroll for March 4th, 2021 in a very short meeting on March 7th, I think, which was very weird, and that none of us caught that we were approving minutes for the year before. And I listened to it even because I was like, maybe we just need to correct that in the minutes. But no, we all said March 2021. So, yeah. Which, and that just means that I'm trying to find, we haven't seen those minutes yet. I don't think on the March 7th meeting, but just to flag that as a weird
March 7th, okay.
thing. I don't know why. Okay. So I guess we can move on to bills and payroll. And so February 11th was first on the list, but that was actually done at the February 23rd meeting. Per the minutes. And then February 25th, we did not do. March 11th, we did not do. So everything else listed does need approval. So I'll move to approve bills and payroll for February 11th, 2022, February 25th, 2022, March 11th, 2022, and March 25th, 2022, as well as April 8th, 2022.
Second.
All right, any further discussion?
Did I say the 11th?
You did.
I shouldn't have said the 11th.
So do you want to amend your motion to remove?
Can you remove the 11th from my motion, please?
Do you second that
I will
amended
second
motion?
that amended motion,
Okay,
removing March 11th from the list.
February 11th.
February.
Did I say February 11th?
Oh, no, I just wrote it down here.
Okay, take it all back.
Okay, let's talk
Okay,
about
start over.
I'll move to approve bills and payroll for February 25th, 2022, March 11th, 2022, March 25th, 2022, and April 8th, 2022.
All right,
Okay, I will second.
Four.
okay. Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
Okay,
Just to be crystal clear in the recording, so that's what is listed in the agenda, except for February 11th.
Correct, because we approved those at a February 23rd meeting.
okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Okay. Any outstanding public comment? I see everyone has jumped off. We have no public in the room. Anything else? No? All right, so we will adjourn today at 2:56 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.